Okay, bonjour. We're going to look at four verbs, and there's actually just two patterns across these four verbs. And there's actually more than four verbs, but we'll look at that in just a moment. So the first pattern we're gonna look at is the verbs venir and tenir, and words related to those. So for example, with venir, devenir and revenir are going to be conjugated the exact same way. Devenir meaning to become, and revenir meaning to come back. D'accord? With tenir, we'll also look at retenir, obtenir, soutenir, anything that has an affix at the beginning of the word. You are going to conjugate the exact same way. So let's get into the conjugations, which you know for venir, I'm pretty sure. So you know je viens because you did like je viens de Victor, right, in the junior high. And so tu viens is the same, it's just with an S, and then il vient is with a T. So already we've got supersonic train, and that's pretty easy. You've memorized je viens as a vocab word at some point. So this vowel change happening from the regular E to vient is going to be really normal to you. You don't really have to spend a lot of mental energy remembering that. D'accord? Outside of the boot, it's going to be regular. D'accord? So this is a boot verb. You drop IR and add ONS. And you might be thinking, wait, for IR verbs, don't we add ISSONS? Yeah, but not with irregulars. Irregulars, you often, it's only with regular IR verbs that you see that happen. So this is just ONS, because it's not really an IR verb. It's not a regular IR verb. Voilà. So take your root, add EZ, venez, d'accord? Vous venez. And then finally, you're going to have something a little bit bizarre in the last one. This will be the hardest one for you to remember. So the vowel change is going to happen in the boot. That means you're going to have vient. And then another thing that has happened with the verb prendre already is that you have N, and then two N's, d'accord? So you're going to have yen and then ENT, your normal ending. Okay, so at the end of the day, it's really not that bad. There's just a vowel change and two N's you have to remember for ils viennent. Okay? So repeat after me for all those. Je viens, tu viens, il vient, nous venons, vous venez, and ils viennent. The past participle is venu. You know this already because we did it with je suis venu. I came, ils sont venus, they came. What you have to remember is that you do add an E if it's feminine and an S if it's plural. Okay? It's a verb that agrees in that way. Present participle, I don't want you to know right now. Okay. Tenir is going to be the exact same as venir. Okay? So tenir is je tiens, tu tiens, and il tient. Notice how it's the exact same pattern, i.e. Supersonic train. Okay? Likewise with nous, we're going to, so nous and vous, outside of the boot, just take the root. So drop IR and get ten plus ONS. Nous tenons, vous tenez. And then you've got the overlapping patterns, which I'm going to describe one more time in case you didn't get it the first time. You've got vowel change, N plus N equals double N, and then just add your ending. D'accord? The past participle of tenir is tenu. D'accord? This is a regular verb, so you say j'ai tenu, for example, I held. D'accord? It does not agree like venir does. Remember that I told you only 9 verbs you need to know right now agree. Venir was one of them. Tenir does not in the past tense. D'accord? Okay, next we're going to look at a verb that we accidentally already did earlier, croire, but also voir. Voir. So you may have seen this one before. I'm actually not sure. But you've got je vois, tu vois, and il voit. D'accord? Supersonic train. The OI is already in the infinitive, so really it's, this is you're just dropping the R and adding SST. So it's a little bit different from what you're used to. Repeat after me. Nous voyons, D'accord? And I say repeat after me because here you'll notice it's not pronounced oi. D'accord? It's pronounced wa. O-I and O-Y in French are always pronounced wa. D'accord? Nous voyons. Nous voyons. Notice that it's a Y. So this is reminiscent of your boot verbs, the spell changing verbs that we did. Like payer. Payer is nous payons with a Y, whereas it's not for je. You changed it to an I. So it's reminiscent of that, although we're adding the Y in, right? We're changing the I to a Y this time. So repeat after me, vous voyez. And then finally, you will not have the change in the boot. It'll be V-O-I, and then add E-N-T, and that's pronounced just voit, il voit. So repeat after me for all these. Je vois, tu vois, il voit, nous voyons, vous voyez, il voit. D'accord? The past participle you know from Unit 1 is just vu, V-U. J'ai vu un film. I saw a movie. D'accord? So that's pretty easy too. All right, croire is going to be the same pattern. So you've got OI in the boot, just like you see. Oops. See. Just like you see in the infinitive, right? It's just OI. And then outside of the boot, you've got a Y instead of an I. So nous croyons, vous croyez, and il croit. Now practice your R sound here at home, because this is a really good context to make the R sound. So try it. Je crois, tu crois, il croit, nous croyons, vous croyez, and il croit. And you know the past participle as well is cru. D'accord? So you can turn it over to the back and we'll do some practice. So, trouve la bonne forme du verbe. Find the right form of the verb. D'accord? That means we're not always conjugating. Sometimes we're putting in the infinitive or the past participle. And never forget that, because it's going to be that way. It's been that way for a while. So if we do number 1 together, you've got the verb venir. And to say you come from which region? Vous. All right. So you can either flip it over and hope to memorize it, or you can see if you remember the patterns. Outside of the boot, it's just drop IR and add EZ. Vous venez de quelle région? D'accord? I'd like to do number 3 with you and then number 6. D'accord? So number 3, notice it says tu ne dois pas blank furieux. We want to say you mustn't become angry. Okay? So we're using the word become, devenir. So tu ne dois pas. Notice we've already got a conjugated verb. Now, is that an auxiliary verb, an AV baby for the past tense, or is that a modal verb? One of those other conjugated verbs. That is a modal verb. So we want to say the infinitive here. Devenir, the unconjugated infinitive form. Okay, numéro 6, yes. So notice you've got il a blank la leçon entière, and we want to use the word retenir. D'accord? So he retained the entire lesson. Now, already from the English, you can see it's past tense. And sometimes that helps. Sometimes it doesn't, because English is terrible, and put and set have no past tense. It's I set it on the table. Or is that something you do habitually, or is it something you did in the past tense? You don't know in English. But here you can tell that it's the past tense. So that's kind of nice. If you couldn't tell that, French will tell you, because you see il a. Now, is that your AV baby or some other conjugated verb? Yeah, that's your AV baby. Okay? That's the auxiliary verb. So we know that we can put in the past participle of retenir. Now, what was it? So venir, maybe you remember as venu. So retenir is going to be retenu. Okay? Follows the same pattern. It's analogous. Same pattern. C'est bon? Okay, so do those and you'll be able to check them in the Google form. Merci and au revoir.